Hello, friends, and welcome back to Malicious Compliance Stories. Let's start with a story about workplace dynamics and the delicate art of schedule management. But before we begin, best way to support our channel is to leave comments, like, and subscribe with the turned-on bell so you don't miss the new video every single day. Here we go. Want to give me minimal availability? Enjoy the longer days, then. At work, I'm responsible for coordinating supervision coverage. We do this quarterly, and I usually get this done 1 to 2 weeks before the following quarter starts. When it's 3 to 4 weeks out, I request everyone's availability. This includes their preferred days, the days they definitely can't work, and any vacation days they plan to use. Because life happens and there's unplanned PTO or sometimes call-in sick, I also schedule backups at the same time to fill in if this happens. One thing to note is that these supervision days can easily add 3 to 4 hours to their workday because of paperwork and such. It's an unfortunate part of their position, and I hate being the one to add to their workload, but they all agree that it's necessary, hence sharing the responsibility. Just about all the staff get me their availabilities by the due date without an issue. They're all generally pretty flexible, and I try to be as accommodating as possible because, let's be honest, work is not the center of their lives, and they already have full plates. So if they say they 100% cannot work a certain day, then I won't be asking them to come in on those days, period. There's always that one, though, right? There's always that one person that's just ate up like a soup sandwich and makes every step more painful than it needs to be. This person, we'll call her Elder Karen, EK, has been here for 20 or 30 years, can't be fired because of tenure and is nearing retirement, basically untouchable disciplinary-wise. Here comes the malicious compliance. EK sends me her availability several days after the deadline despite my repeatedly asking, and when she did, she put her only available days as Mondays and Wednesdays. Every other day, she supposedly can only work remote. I say work because she's logged in and just wiggles her mouse or her computer won't go into sleep mode. Doesn't do any real work. And several of her Wednesdays are 100% no because she's taking PTO. So she arrogantly made life difficult. Again, I try to respect the days they say they cannot work, but in EK's situation, she can get lost. What I forgot to mention is that everyone needs to cover a certain number of days as lead and backup. I started working on it as fast as I could, placed a few days, and got pulled into a meeting, so no surprise that I may have overlooked something. I sent out the email and went back to my work. A few weeks go by and I get a strongly worded email from EK berating me for putting her on a day as a supervisor that she was unavailable, the day prior to that coverage. Suffice to say, it was quite unprofessional and basically called me inept for a minor oversight. So I started moving other people around while still trying to consider their scheduled PTO days like one big Sudoku puzzle with names. Remember how they all have a number of days they need to cover? Guess who was missing quite a few? In my hurry, when initially adding her in, I miscounted, so I was able to switch supervisors that one day in question without issue. Then came the arduous task of putting her name on more days. Since the schedule was changed, I highlight the edits to prevent confusion for the team. Then comes the satisfying feeling of writing an email. I reply, apologizing for the error, letting her know I made the changes she requested. I also wrote, EK, I noticed that you had less days of coverage than required. I moved some people around and added a few more days onto the calendar for you. This should bring you even with the rest of the supervisors now. Unfortunately, due to your restrictive availability, I was forced to schedule you on a couple of your PTO days, so I'll need you here. Furthermore, because the quarter has started, changing availabilities isn't allowed, so your coverage days will need to be permanent as is. This felt so nice, given that I had to drop everything for her to make her happy, throwing a metaphorical wrench in my workflow. It was soon after I was CC'd in on an email from her to my supervisor, but that's a tale for another time. And our second story. You want to wear tough guy pants? Good luck cleaning them tomorrow. I work as a bartender in a small cocktail bar for some time now, and I'm usually chill. But bullies can still push my buttons in a wrong way. Before starting, I may be in the wrong for doing this, but it is what it is. A week ago, a bunch of guys came in for a few. They seemed like okay dudes, early 20s, but the group dynamic was kinda off. Introducing the main antagonist, obnoxious guy, too loud, snapping his fingers at me when ordering. Don't snap fingers at bartenders, kids. We're not dogs. punching his friends in the shoulders all the time. A sportier, really aggressive version of a David Spade character he was. Next to David Spade sat the victim of most of his playful teasings. Silently enduring his crap, I really felt sorry for this fellow. He wasn't a drinker, but he looked like he would rather be drinking distilled devil's pee than continue sitting next to this macho maniac. He was really uncomfortable. David continued to bug him to take a shot at least. Come on, one with me. Don't be a P-word, a B, until after a whole night of persuasion, finally my dude waved the white flag. Okay, let's do one shot together, then leave me be. Two of your most effed up shots, Spade shouted, snapping his effing fingers while I imagined snapping his effing neck. Oh, you'll get an effed up shot, buddy. I made this 2-layered shots, but while looking almost the same, they were different. David got stuff like Red Jacques Sino Absinthe, 75% alcohol, Stro, 80% alcohol, Tabasco, 110% flaming diarrhea. Really nasty business altogether. Another guy got mostly syrups, juices, harmless stuff. They looked almost identical. Red Absinthe can pass visually as cranberry juice, Stro as a syrup from brown sugar, Sambuca as anything colorless, etc. They took their shots, and all hell broke loose. Other guy chugged his shot like a champion, not even flinching. Why would he? He drank juice. But David Spade? Boy, oh boy. He looked like he'd had a brain aneurysm. Tears pouring from his eyes, coughing like his lungs wanted to come out. He had a face and a posture of a man who just got waterboarded with some sort of chili sauce. Other guy looked surprised until he caught a wink from me. But David Spade and the rest of the crew, now roaring with laughter about his misery, suspected nothing. They got their shots on the house. Poor dude was left alone, and David was a good boy for the rest of the night, deflatedly enduring small mockings from his fellows. Now, I may have used my powers in a wrong way, but this is the first and only time I messed with the customer's drinks. And I regret nothing. He was rude, aggressive even, to everyone around him. F you, sporty David Spade. Edit. Love my job, but there's always one guy out of 1,000 that'll try to mess everyone's day. Edit 2. Let me answer a few questions. No, they didn't tip at all. I work in Southern Europe. Tipping among locals is not a typical thing. I earn my pay from tourists, mainly Americans and Scandinavians. Me being from Europe is the reason why I didn't hear about cement mixers so far, and me being a faithful disciple of the craft is the reason why I tried my first cement mixer today. Boy, oh boy, did that come back to bite me in the butt. Disclaimer, I have nothing against real David Spade. I like him, actually, but his sporty doppelganger deserves a kick in the butt. You gave the guy exactly what he asked for, and didn't charge him for it. You got nothing to apologize for. A+, sir. And our last story. Crazy HOA president. My very first place in college that I didn't rent was a townhouse condo. Typical cookie cutter, 3-storied, 4 to a section, little cutout of suburbia for beginners. I lived near the back of the development. This meant driving by / past the front units every day to get to and from work and school. Our HOA board president, Sonia, lived across the street from our HOA treasurer, Zelda. Sonia was in her 30s, ran an illegal daycare out of her home, and I hated driving by her house after 3 p.m. or on workdays because her 2 elementary-age kids would hide behind parked cars and run in front of your vehicle, screaming, "Slow down." I got really scared after this happened a few times and only drove 5 miles per hour through there, and the kids kept doing it. I spoke with their mom about how unsafe jumping in front of cars was. I'm only going 5 miles per hour because I'm terrified, and they're basically harassing me and our neighbors weekly. Sonia says her kids are just being neighborhood monitors, and I should be thankful for their diligence. WTF. A week later at 7 p.m., after most of the residents are home, mostly young families, I pull in after working my retail job after class. I notice a tow truck, then 2, then 3. Holy effing crap, they're towing everyone in the neighborhood. I park in my garage and run upstairs and tell my roommates to move their cars from the street parking. They run out, and sure as crap, everyone who parked on the street's getting towed. There's 2 of my neighbors fighting with the tow drivers that they've always parked there. It's a parking area. It's in our homeowner's booklet. We whip it out, and the tow truck drivers say they're just following orders of Sonia, and they leave when the police show up. Sonia put up home-printed paper signs and signed a contract with the tow company in the middle of the day without telling anyone. The cops advised all residents that tomorrow this would be effective, but that the homemade signs Sonia made were not legal and there was no posted no parking signs. Guys, that night she was out in the street with a red bucket of paint painting the curb red. She had the tow company post their tow signs and no parking signs the next afternoon. Goodbye street parking. Now anyone who didn't fit in the garage had to park 3 blocks away outside the condo units. The next straw was when one day 4 large evergreen trees were cut down from a communal park in the development. Old lady and treasurer Zelda found out Sonia had paid her sideman, who was also an arborist, over $8,000 of HOA money to cut these trees down, without any discussion or approval from the HOA board. Zelda flipped her crap and the next HOA meeting let everyone know what happened to the trees and how Sonia pissed our HOA money away. We were planning for a community co-op garden. After the 6 o'clock meeting, I guess somebody else on the board called Sonia to let her know she was going to be removed from the HOA president seat due to the unapproved expenses, towing issue, and more. Well, at about 8 p.m., I hear screaming, like blood-curdling screams from a woman, "Help! Call the police!" Reddit, it's Zelda. She's outside her condo effing screaming. Sonia came over, punched the 70-year-old Zelda in the face, pulled her out of her own home, locked her out, and was now threatening to harm Zelda's disabled and bedridden elderly husband who was upstairs. Zelda's effing hysterical. I'm on the phone with the police. About 5 neighbors are also outside on the phone with the police. Zelda's screaming every curse word in the book through her own front door at our crazy ex-HOA president. Sonia was arrested that night for some crazy crap like assault and holding someone hostage. Since Sonia was a single parent, her kids were taken away by relatives about an hour after CPS showed up. Zelda had this gnarly black eye and huge scratches on her chest where I guess Sonia clawed her shirt and pulled her into the haymaker. I only lived there 14 months and moved due to the escalating issues with the HOA. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.